our next presenter is Tom Thomson. Tom is GIS and Data Officer at the Invertebrate Conservation Trust, or Buglife to you and I. And he's going to talk to us about important invertebrate areas, harnessing data and building the network. Tom.
Hello there. I will keep my camera off for now because I'm a little bit worried about bandwidth, and I will share my screen. Hopefully you can all see that okay. Okay, so I'm sure a few of you will know me from previous conferences, and particularly talks about data and GIS and the use of these within Buglife, and possibly about the project I'm here to talk to you about today, which is the important invertebrate areas. So what are important invertebrate areas? They are nationally significant places for the conservation of invertebrates and the habitats upon which they rely. And the UK has over 40,000 invertebrate species. And so this project was basically started to try and build a network that represents this diversity and the threats that these are under. So this was in two major phases. The first phase was our broad phase, or hectare level phase, within England, Scotland and Wales. Ireland we do hope to map at some point, but this is a separate project. And this had a national focus and was very much data-led, and we've now completed this as of 2018. Where we are now is within phase 2, which is what we call the fine-scale mapping phase, which we are moving forward. We're more than halfway through now. So this has very much a landscape focus and is knowledge-based and data-led, but is much more local, and with a lot of input from local recorders and local stakeholders and recorders within a set area. So where does all this data come from? We have over 40 million records in our database. It's a very sizable resource from over 100 different data providers. This is only something that's used specifically for this project, as a lot of this data was licensed specifically for the IAs, but is a huge resource within that for building our network. So data treatment was obviously a big task, and this is one of the things that I started doing as one of my first jobs within Buglife, having moved from informatics purely to much more broad conservation for the purpose of this project. The NBN helped us hugely here, and the gateway, as was, and the templates and record cleaner within this was instrumental in getting our data treatment process up and running. We also had a lot of input from BRC, from GBIF, and from various systems that I ported over from work at the Natural History Museum and from other organisations as well. Taxon version keys has also been a key input here, so we can link our taxa to conservation statuses, and also checking taxa through the UK species inventory, which has been invaluable. Not having to build an entire reference taxonomy and being able to use the UKSI has been one of the saving graces of being able to develop this. So all of this data, all of these records are processed and linked to hexads. Some of the hectad data also has a biasing attached to it. This is to overcome small areas, particularly where hectads, for instance, are mostly in the sea, and the small amount of coastline is still very important, so that these don't adversely drop out simply because they have smaller land area. We also apply a hard data cutoff, so we only include data that is post 1990, whereas pre-1990 data can figure in the second phase in specific circumstances. So how are we selecting what records of what species are linking up our network? I won't go into this too much detail. I've partly put this slide in here so that if anyone wants to refer to it later, we can go through it all. But in essence, we have two categories, category A and category B. Category A and the sources of these are very, very important species which are extremely threatened, extremely rare, and often within global red lists, European geographic red lists, and other legislatory annexes, or they are critically endangered and or endemic within GB status reviews. Category B is about assemblages. So the assemblages are, again, all protected species or ones that are highlighted being particularly rare or threatened. But we have also added to this with a rarity generated index, which has helped form particular data sets. How do we use this to build a network? Well, if a hectad has a confirmed and verified record within criteria A, then it automatically qualifies. There are only a few of these species, 65, and they are, as I said, are keynote species that effectively we cannot miss out. So those go straight in. As soon as you've got a verified record, that hectad is prioritised. Category B, or criteria B, should I say, is a little bit more complex. We've got a lot more species, over 850, and we have data for almost every hectad for at least one of these species. So we have done this in a couple of different stages. We have linked them all to hectads. We have done hotspot and not spot analysis and linked all of the conservation statuses and data verification to these to create indexes, which you can then apply thresholds to. So the thresholds have been designated through a fairly rigorous process. There's lots of different methodologies have been tried. The final one was decided upon by our steering group, which was to select the top 15% of hectads in terms of qualifying species numbers and verification density. So what this does is create a cutoff of 8 species within the qualifying category B within England and Wales, and 4 within Scotland for that hectad to qualify. If it already qualifies through category A, that simply merges in. So the next stage is we bring these two together and apply those thresholds, which brings down the amount of hectads selected through category B down. We then merge in our important category A hectads. We apply the different thresholds for different countries, and then we merge all 3 countries together into one cohesive map of selected hectads. This then forms the base of our broad-scale network. These are named units, and the naming is based on the usual sort of landform data, habitats, species assemblages. Some of them also take their names from river catchments, SSI network, and that type of thing. We've also helped select and tease apart some of the habitats using Pantheon from Natural England and a couple of other analysis tools. So the second phase, this is the data treatment for this was quite similar to the first phase. We verified all the taxa using the UKSI. We've linked and analysed all of the data, but rather than linking it to hectads, we are using pure data points for highest resolution as possible. We've sourced this data from all sources this time. So rather than just large verified data sets covering the whole of the country, lots of local recorders data sets have gone in here. LRC data has been included as well. Also from key national stakeholders, and also the boundaries of land use for some of these, such as the National Trust, big charities, Forestry Commission, other national bodies. All of this then comes together and we build a set of mapping resources which we can take to a workshop. This was in person. Now, obviously, this has gone online. So that's what one of these workshop maps look like. This one doesn't have many, I think it only has one category A point on it. And so this is mostly category B records, showing how they link to particular parts of the network. Some of these fine scale maps are very, very small, such as this one in Scunthorpe for a single small brownfield site and 1 category A species. And some are very large, such as the Thames Gateway and Thames Estuary network, which is also linked to other parts of the fine scale network, which you can see in blue above here, which is the Lee Valley and the Essex Coast SSI, IAs. Sorry. So what's next? Where are we taking this and where are we going with this? Well, obviously, we're trying to finalise the whole of our network, our fine scale network. Through this, we want to develop lots and lots of resources, both for our internal use, for other NGOs and other charities, and also to link this, particularly back with the LRCs that are supporting particularly the second phase, but also the whole of the process, linking through the NBN and hoping to use more and more resources within the Atlas and through the platforms that the LRCs are on the Atlas through and through Alert. We're hoping to link this more to statutory bodies, and we're hoping to host the finalised fine-scale map work on various resources like the Magic Map. And we're also hoping to integrate IAs into a lot of the conservation workflow across all 3 countries and eventually wider, such as into Ireland as well. The whole point of this being to cultivate partnerships across the whole of the network and the whole of all of the countries to cultivate working across to conserve invertebrates. That's all I've got for you today. So if there's any questions, fire away.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for keeping to time too. That's an amazing amount of work. So do we have any questions, Joe?
We do, yes. We have a question from Will George at the RSPB, who wants to know, where did you access the information on designation conservation status from? I know JNCC provide a spreadsheet, but it's not always that up to date and not the easiest way of accessing that data. It seems like it would benefit a lot of people if that data could be stored somewhere that's widely accessible and kept up to date or enriched by whoever may hold further species information.
Yeah, we have actually been in talks about that. We've effectively used some of that spreadsheet data and we've brought it right up to date. We've talked to a lot of the authors of the GB status reviews particularly. We've integrated all the spreadsheets that were provided with those GB status reviews. We've also digitized data from some older reviews, and we've got our own index system now of all of the UK statuses, both provisional and as they become official. So we do hope to maybe be able to share this. It might well be able to be linked to several other resources, possibly through the UKSI or possibly through JNCC. But yes, I agree. It'd be really good if that cohesive network of statuses could be shared elsewhere, and we've got as much as on the ball that as is possible to be.
Thank you. Any others, Joe?
Yeah, we've got a couple more from Sorrel Jones. What is your timescale for finishing phase 2?
We don't have a hard deadline. There's a lot of work going on in parallel with this. We have done more than half of the network in less than 2 years. So I would certainly hope that we could complete the rest of the network within another 2 years. But that depends on other workload and how much of a focus this is going forward. This has always been a focus in parallel with several other projects to help build them as well as be informed by them. So that's an approximate. Within a couple of years, we hope.
And a final question from Christine Johnston. Is the HECTAC map available as an open data layer?
Not yet. We have a portal of information that is currently being built and we'll have a lot of resources. This will have the whole of our hexacad scale map, all of the resources used to create it, and also all of our fine scale maps as they link in with profiles of why those areas have been designated as an important invertebrate area and key species within it. That should be launched very soon. Like a lot of people, we're almost there, but COVID has delayed quite a few things. So yeah, very soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Richard.